Hello, good evening, and welcome to another 8 p.m. live stream. And thanks very much for joining me tonight. I know some of you guys, I can see you already on the stream, Chris and Ozzy. I know some of you were hanging around last night. Just to say, tonight's a full-blooded discussion on America. And best of all, I've got a great American who's going to join us very, very shortly to talk through all the issues. So I hope you will enjoy tonight. No prisoners will be taken, not an inch will be spared. Right, before we get to that, whilst I've got your attention, if you like this, make sure you share and like it on Facebook. Make sure you share and subscribe on YouTube as well. All the social media links are in the description below, so you can go and look there. And above all, give us a big thumbs up if you like this. The social media algorithms like to see thumbs up. So you practice and give as many thumbs up as you can. Finally, if you're going to keep the show on the road, go to altnewsmedia.net, hit donate now, hit the button, and throw a few dollars or a few pounds our way. If you can, that would be greatly appreciated. And with that, I think that's all the introductions done. I've got lots of some good Irish friends on the stream, so you're all very welcome. And can I, without further ado, bring on our special guest, drum roll, Mr. Patrick Van Roy. So, Patty, nice to see you.
Good afternoon, David. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I think it's 3 o'clock in your neck of the woods in
3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I forget about the fact that you people in the colonies operate till a different time zone. Why aren't you in British Standard Time? That's what I want to know. Let's go back to 1776, Paddy, and refight it. Anyway, listen, it's great to have you here. Patrick Van Roy, he is also, by the way, a long-term friend of mine. I consider him to be a true American patriot. He also basically hosts one of my other websites, A Tangled Web. He does a great job over there. So I see somebody, one of our associates from over there, Fuse Orange, is saying, do you accept euros? Yes, we accept everything, every currency you could imagine. But anyway, look, you're very welcome, and everyone is very welcome on the stream.
Gold, FO, send gold.
Gold, Bitcoin, whatever it is, we will accept it. But look, I think, folks, I know some of you watched me last night, and we were talking about the Biden inauguration, but it was all British people talking about it. And with the best will in the world, we need to have it's so critical we have the American perspective. And I think Paddy, along with 75 million other Americans, didn't vote for Joe Biden. So it's important to get all these different perspectives, and that's what we're going to have. So, Paddy, just to get things sort of in the mood, get us all in the mood here as people join the stream, I've got a couple of videos I'd like to set up and play. I think one pretty much featuring Trump, and then we'll talk about that a wee bit, and then one with Biden. So can we please play the first video, Paddy? Hope you enjoy this one.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment, it belongs to you. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. A new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
4 years ago, I came to Washington as the only true outsider ever to win the presidency. Above all, we have reasserted the sacred idea that in America, the government answers to the people. Did not seek the easiest course. I go from this majestic place with a loyal and joyful heart, an optimistic spirit, and a supreme confidence that for our country and for our children, the best is yet to come. Thank you and farewell. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
Wow. Well, Patty, it's quite emotional to see that, actually. You know, the beginning 4 years ago and the end 2 days ago. So so let's just briefly take a few moments on Trump. You know, what's your overall sense of the Trump presidency in terms of what he's done and how it ended? Let's just talk Trump for a few moments, Patty.
All right. Well, just in general, all right. You know, I'll put Trump up there with one of the my top 3 presidents of the last of my lifetime and of the last 100 years. I put him up there with Nixon and Reagan, and is because their attitudes on approach of the office was so radically different than everybody else's, and saw the world in a so totally different view, a view that each of the 3 actually shared. And when it came to America first, and how America's place in how it should do business and how it should act around the world, and each of them is perfectly hated by a large portion of their own country and the world, but it's still greatness breeds contempt. Now Trump won. People do a lot of Trump's first 3 years. He achieved more than Reagan even did with for the economy, for jobs, for employment, for renegotiating deals. I don't know. Everybody has this thing, the trade agreements and this and that and the tariffs. People forget one thing. After World War II, like the Marshall Plan, the State Department existed for one reason: to lift the rest of the world up to the United States living standards. Well, now you've not, the rest of the world is not only up to our standards, but a lot of places are passing us and everything else. It's time to deal on an equal table. Trump was the first president to actually view it that way, view it from a business sense deal, and he did a good job and got heavily maligned for it. Personality wise, I love the guy. He had absolutely no filter, and nobody in our country on the left knew how to deal with that, because they're used to telling everybody to sit down and shut up. And it's kind of hard to tell the president of the United States to sit down and shut up, although they tried. But other than that, you turn around and look at his accomplishments. Highest minority employment ever. They fully endowed all the national black colleges. Women's were in the workforce higher than anything else. Everybody's boat lifted, rising ocean lifts all boats, and it did under him. Then but the man was totally under attack. His whole president, and none of his accomplishments, none of the actual minutia that actually is the country got focused on by the press or by the politics or by the conversation or nothing. It was all personality driven, and the man's personality grated on a lot of people. Personally, I loved it. But it's and that's what it all came out. So when you talk about Trump, I did a post. There's sitting over on a tangled web is a list like 5 pages long. It's truncated, so you don't have to read it all at once. Of what it was accomplished during his tenure of office. But the last year was, the plague broke out, and and it was totally played for advantage in our country, and they totally did a lot of things that with the economy and all this sort of stuff. So, and the whole last year was, I don't count as, any presidency. And unless the all these restrictions and all this COVID crap is pulled together and either lifted or done up. But if this isn't resolved, Biden's first year is not going to be a real show of his presidency either. The country needs to be at full strength working. That's when you judge the government and you judge the president, not when the whole world's in a lockdown because the Chinese, played with germs. It's not a good judge of anything.
The thing is, Paddy, that Trump, he was a business guy. He probably more in many ways he was an outsider. He was a business guy. He came in to fix the U.S. economy when Obama. Remember Obama telling us, Paddy, that those jobs weren't coming back. Well, they did come back actually. And to me, the Trump presidency was a curate's egg. It was good in parts. There were some things he wasn't able to do, but that was partly because of what happened in 2018 when the Democrats getting control of the lower house, and that caused impediments and stuff. But I mean, the one thing I would say,
I gotta stop right there, because you know what they say, that the Democrats, they took control 2 years into his president. Paul Ryan did everything he could. Trump did not have he had a Congress against him from day one. The Republicans hated him and the Democrats hated him. The Republicans' lack of support cost them the House. Yeah. And that's what gave the gavel back to Nancy. She got to fly in on her broom again. So it's just the way it is, But he did not have a cooperating Congress at all. John McCain's last act of life was to, I would do what he gave an FU, and I'd give the middle finger, but we're on YouTube. So, but to the American people, man ran 7 years on canceling Obamacare, but despite Trump and out of bitterness and everything, he told the American people, F you, and made sure his was the final vote, and the last act of his life was to betray the American public and stab this president in the back. There's a man of honor. Well,
yeah, exactly, Paddy, and you're quite right to correct me that in many regards it was Trump operated almost without a party underneath him, almost without a party. The GOP is an absolute disgrace in my mind. You mentioned Paul Ryan, who sits on the board of Fox, as we know, and they played their role in helping to undermine the president as well.
As it descends into the also ran ratings.
I've seen that. It's third now. Did you see that? Yeah. Well, they deserve that. I mean, there's a few guys on it, which I think Tucker Carlson is still pretty hard. I do like him. I do. You get an honest review from Tucker. He's not, he is conservative. He was a George Washington professor, though, George Washington University. So he's, and he's grew up in privilege. The man is not, some redneck either. And he's like, what do you call it? But you get an honest view of them. And he holds everybody, both sides, to the mat. I like Mark Levin on Sunday nights, because he's a friend and he's also a person whose work I admire greatly. So other than that, now I really don't know who's worth watching on it now that the administration has changed. Well, we're going to talk about. So I think, Paddy, the summary position is, I think history will look back favorably on the Trump era. The only thing that worries me is I just wonder in my darker moments, was that the last 4 years before this kind of new order globally asserts itself and basically America becomes China's bitch? But we'll talk about that. We will talk about that, because what I wanted to do now, Paddy, God, what's the time here? It was already 15 minutes gone, Paddy. We've got so much to talk about. We've got another video put together for you. Okay. I want you to have a look at this. Is the man who inspired 80 plus million Americans. He got the biggest vote in the history of any presidential campaign. He's the guy with so much charisma, effort. He can speak so eloquently. He can even finish his sentences. Can we please play the next video?
Unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community. You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. My Democratic colleagues don't like me saying this. I think the two-party system is good for the South and good for the Negro, good for the black. And other than the fact that they still call me boy, I think they've changed their mind. They're gonna put you all back in chains.
The first sort of mainstream African American who was articulate and bright and clean and nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook, man.
It was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputation of two United States senators who built their reputation and career on the segregation of race in this country.
Are you going to apologize like Cory Booker has?
Apologize for what? For what?
I did it for the President Obama's administration before this. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Well, there you go, Patty. That's Joe in his own words.
Isn't that last segment like verboten? Will we now have to, go to re-education camp for?
Well, you might, because they might be coming for you, Patty, and indeed every other one of the 74 Trumpsters out there, because now Orange Man gone.
I want to see if they're really, how stupid they're really going to be. I mean, because you said they're coming for us. With this group, they might actually be stupid enough to do one or two things that would actually go to people's houses. And it's just like this, we've got the next 100 days are going to be so interesting to watch, because this group that's in power right now, between, well, they're hardcore communists that don't know they're communists. They're social justice, racists that they're going to fix the world and take care of all the violence and pain and suffering. We're going to be so well once we just do as we're told.
I think this is an administration, Patty, that is going to be. People will certainly realize there's been a change. That's for absolute certain. But I think I've seen a few comments, and one here from our friend from Tangled Web Days, Fuse Orange, who says a large number of Trumpists abandoned Fox because they accurately predicted that Biden would win Arizona. Patty, just on this. And I'm not going to refight the issue of the election, Fuse, by the way. You said something, Patty, before we came on air, which I thought was very, very decent and honourable. And just perhaps repeat to our viewers your approach when it comes to elections and the outcome of election results.
My philosophy on that, you see all these people, and I am an advocate. I am an advocate that I think there was major problems in the last election. But here's my simple rule. It's an unaccredited quote from Richard Nixon right after he had his first presidential bid stolen from him by JFK. It was, whoever takes the oath of office, he's the president. How he got there is unimportant. Joe Biden's my president. How he got there, it doesn't matter. It's the Biden administration. We're going to deal with the Biden administration. The last 4 years are done. The game's already begun. On the man's first half day of office, he took a sledgehammer to the American economy. He stopped fracking. He stopped the Canadian pipeline. And there's going to be people who say, hey, he didn't stop fracking. He stopped all gas and oil drilling and fracking on federal lands. That's over a third of the United States oil and gas production. He shut down the Keystone Pipeline. That's not only oil jobs and refinery jobs. That was a construction job that was going on from one end of the country to the other. He just leveled union labor all over. My state, he enacted the Paris Climate Accords. My state of Pennsylvania, for the last 4 years, has been laying pipe and building refineries and getting ready to the liquid gas exporting production to Europe. But no, that's all come to an end right now because climate accords and the environmental rules and everything under them, they just shut down all pipeline construction in Pennsylvania, all refining construction in Pennsylvania, all the union workers in this state, which is a predominantly union state. This state walks a fine line. It's got Pittsburgh and Philly with Kentucky in the middle. They call it Pennsyltucky. That's where I'm at, by the way. But I grew up in Philly. But it's what he did in his first half a day in just those executive orders. He's he reversed things that opened the economy up, that caused that boom in the first 3 years of the Trump economy. The boom of that can't be denied of jobs. Now you can say, Obama's economy, it was rising. Yeah, it was rising. It's everything rises eventually. It's just our largesse. We're going to rise. But there's a difference between crawling and running. And when you reach the highest unemployment numbers in American history in multiple categories, that's the bottom line. Because if you're not working, if you're collecting, you're nothing in this country. You're a sub citizen, although some of them make it as a career. But it's everybody. The main drive of most Americans is I want to work. Just leave me alone. Let me do my job, earn my money, and live my life. And they just took that livelihood away from a lot of people.
But Patty, one of the strange things is that the state of Pennsylvania voted for Biden. Pennsylvania voted however we want. The result anyway was that Pennsylvania voted for Biden. So Pennsylvania presumably wants to lose all those jobs.
Pennsylvania's got two major population center, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Philadelphia is my home city of brotherly love. I love it. I think it's the greatest city in the world. It is also one of the 5 most dangerous cities in the country, and has been since the country's conception. It is also falling apart. The poverty rate, the rate of high school dropouts, the drug infestation, the destruction of housing and jobs. There's no jobs in the city except unless you work for Comcast. They
Right.
They own the city, but it's a disgrace, and like we've got people that you can't arrest. They just had somebody. Our district attorney doesn't believe in people holding people in jail. He just let one guy out who was being held for murder, and the guy murdered somebody else. But it's got nothing to do with the policies of the Democrats. You look at every Democrat-run city in the United States, and you'll see a list. You'll see a list of every city that's been burning for the last year with riots. Portland yesterday had a riot because they didn't want Biden; they wanted revenge. So they have the city council of Portland is on loudspeakers begging Antifa to stop burning the Democrat headquarters. You had to watch it, but they fed all this. They allowed this to go on for 9 months, and it is what it is. So it's going to be an interesting 4 years. The next 100 days are going to be very interesting because his first day he destroyed it. Also, too, another thing that was corrected today, I saw for international, the Israeli ambassador, his Twitter handle was changed to Israeli ambassador and ambassador to Gaza and the West Bank. Now, we don't have diplomatic offices in Gaza and the West Bank, at least not yet. I guess that's coming down the road. I wonder if he's going to try to, pull, the embassy out of Jerusalem. I wouldn't put it past him. The amount of work that has been done in the Middle East in the last 4 years has been phenomenal. We have almost, if the Middle East has been divided into two solid camps. You've got the Iranian camp and you've got the Jewish Saudi camp. And and everybody who's afraid to death of Iran, and that's most of them, have signed off non-aggression agreements with Jerusalem, something that could never happen. Oh my God, how could this be? We didn't give nothing to the Palestinians. We didn't turn over the West Bank. We didn't give them half the city of Jerusalem. We moved an embassy there instead. And all of a sudden we're getting peace deals.
So Patty, I'm now going to just bring into the stream tonight our producer, Jed. So if Jed would like to get himself in, here he is.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling.
Diagrammatic form. Don't worry, Patty. I'll bring you back. Keep you in line. Patty and Jed, I'll put this one to you. One of the things this hasn't surprised me, but it happened really fast. I see the first time Biden strolled into the Oval Office, he saw that bronze bust of Winston Churchill, and he's removed it, just like Obama did. How does that make you feel about the incoming American president, Jed?
It's predictable. He is Obama Mark II. And it was highly predictable. And that's why in this country, we focused on that. Where was the bust of Churchill? As soon as we could see inside the Oval Office with, God Emperor Biden at the altar, the British press looked around the room for the bust of Churchill to literally note that it had been moved, and it had been moved deliberately. Obviously, because it would have still been there. But could I just say, David, just before I finish my piece, Paddy, absolutely every single word you said there, and particularly I like your thing about whoever takes the oath on the 20th, he's the president. I think that's very magnanimous in defeat, so to speak, and I'm sure there's millions of Americans that think the same as well. Sorry, David, I upped on it.
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to, so going back to Patty, I'm talking about 100 interesting days. There is it's a Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times.
I'm gonna find that Chinaman. I swear to God, if they're in the afterlife, I am hunting him down and making him pay.
Well, I think we'll all be paying, because it seemed, as I said last night on a different stream, I was disappointed that Xi Jinping hadn't been invited to the inauguration, because let's face it, some people might suggest that he actually is the big winner, because now we have got essentially a globalist shill in the form of Biden in the Oval Office. And Patty, the question I have for you is this one. Some people think that this administration, the new one, is going to be a bit like the Obama administration. But other people think it's going to be much more radical, because Sleepy Joe he's not the guy making decisions. There's other people making decisions. So where do you stand? Is it going to be more like Obama, or is it going to be more like something totally different?
In one respect, it will be better than Obama. Biden will not bow. Biden will not bow to a king or to somebody. Yeah. Biden will not bow. As far as foreign policy goes, you guys are screwed. It's like forget the United States. We will be back killing people in the Middle East before the 4 years is over. I can guarantee that. But other than that, forget it. There's nothing nowhere. You're on your own. Forget it. You can get lots of money. Come and get it. We'll write you a check. Well, you don't ever worry about it. The Bank of China will cash it. You're good to go. But like I said, now you're going to see a lot, because Biden really is not all right. Biden's sense of the world is a little bit different than Obama's, and I compare it to Obama did as much as Obama did that I disagreed with and everything else. Obama's policies and Obama's plans were Obama's policies and Obama's plans. Biden's policies and Biden's plans are What's the studies say? Well, the problem is you got academics doing studies that are like, like you got people like Fauci, the malignant dwarf running around. And we're going to, one day you got a mask, next day you don't have a mask. Today we got a mask, no mask. Tomorrow we got cancellations. We can allow people to fly. We can't allow people to fly. Yeah, this thing is going to go insane. But you're going to see the Middle East. You're going to see we're going to open back up negotiations with Iran. Now, Iran's already laughing because they're saying we're not renegotiating anything, but they got their hands out and everything else. We've strangled their economy for 4 years. They're dying. That money flow is going to go back. So that's money flow that's going to go to funding terror, because that's what Iran's the head of the snake. Iran is the problem. Iran supports Shia, Sunni, Venezuelan, you name the type of terrorist, and Iran will support it as long as it kills people that they disagree with. And and they have an agenda. They want to bring back their version of God, and the only way they can do that is to kill everybody who doesn't believe in that version of God. So, and that's their agenda. But you talk to people who don't want to believe it.
But Jed, I think, Jed, I fully agree, by the way, with Patty. Iran is now going to be, they're happy. They've got the desired result. But my point about China is, Jed, that for quite a while now, I've been sort of banging on about the fact that I believe that China has basically bought the United States. It's also bought Europe. It's bought the UK. It's bought Africa. It's bought up quite a big chunk of the world, Jed. And the Trump was a bulwark against Chinese imperialism. I believe Biden will be an enabler of subtle but nonetheless Chinese imperialism. What say you on that one, Jed?
Well, he will be, because he's got past history with it, hasn't he? And I don't want to mention his son, because we're on YouTube, and there's a phrase a good YouTuber person I watch, lotuseaters.com, and they use it as 2 stacks Biden, i.e. 2 stacks of cash. And he is. The money has come into him in the past, and he's favoured them. It didn't for 4 years as Trump, pushed back against China, rightfully as well, because they were stealing American jobs, American intellectual property. You name it, they were stealing it. And they were influencing the West with the communist ideas. The left call it social justice and racial justice. We know it as communism, because our eyes are open. But now as he's back in the chair, the cash, the deals, the favoritism will flow again, and American jobs will disappear, and America will go back into decline for 4 years.
See, that's another thing too that I'm interested in and I haven't seen, and you can't get any straight news. Like, I spent 2 hours before the show trying to find out the exact wording of the executive orders, and I couldn't get copies of them. But Trump did a lot of things to reinstate business development here in the country. How much of that is actually going to be turned off? Now, the Bidens, it's also too, we're talking about Hunter and this. My whole thing with that is, don't just concentrate on the Bidens. You got John Kerry, Mitt Romney, Nancy Pelosi, all had children also on the board of Burisma.
And Swalwell.
That's both parties. And
Swalwell as well.
That's a whole show in itself, is how you bribe an American official, and it's a very interesting thing. But we won't go there because
we won't go there at the moment. But
it's all theory.
Patty, here's my problem. The way I see it, the United States, actually very like Britain, you don't have 2 parties. You've got 1 party. It's the Uni-party. And, it reminds me of that line from George Orwell's Animal Farm, where the pigs looked at the humans and the humans looked at the pigs, and they actually got to the point where they couldn't distinguish between each other. That's where we are with the Democrats and the GOP. These parties are both the same. Trump was the difference. And in the House, there's a few Trumpsters in there now, who are Marjorie Wallace, being one who I quite like.
Our system was not designed for professional politicians, and over the last 100 years, we developed a class of professional politicians, and our system doesn't work with professional politicians, and you get these dynasties like the Bushes and the Roosevelts and the others, and it's you can go down the line, and it's just like, and you look at the families, how many senators, someone dies, their wife takes over. Excuse me, this is not how it's, or their son or this one or that. No, you were supposed to do a good job in your personal life and business, and then get elected and give back to the country. Give a little service, do some government duty. Then you weren't supposed to become a politician to become a millionaire. I want to, nobody leaves office in the United States anymore unless they're a millionaire, and half of them go in there in debt. So how does that happen if you only make $140,000 a year?
Good question. But Jed, here's another thing that's bothered me, and today, and I think I did a little short video on it earlier. The UK Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, has hailed the incoming Biden administration, and he was negative about what he called about the turbulence of the Trump years. And all I hear is Brits saying, well, Biden might be quite good. He could be a friend of Britain. Are they clinically mad, or are they just stupid or naive, or a combination of both? Because in my world, Jed, there's no way, and Paddy's already said this, that Biden is going to be a friend of the United Kingdom. So Boris groveling to him is just humiliation.
He is, and he is groveling, because I think if you remember when he first became PM, how he sucked up to Trump. When Boris first took office, he sucked up to Trump. He's now sucking up to Biden, but I'm afraid the boat has now sailed. If we wanted a deal, with the US, a free trade deal, we should have left the EU when we voted to leave the EU.
Yeah.
We should have done the deal with Trump and his administration. And therefore, we would have now been in those open waters that we set sail for in 2016. We're not. So he's now having to beg, humiliate himself, humiliate our country, just to try and get some crumbs from the American table.
Yeah, I think that's true. Actually, there's a good point. I'll bring it up again from our friend Fuse Orange. He says, Paddy, don't blame the corrupt politicians. Blame the voters who keep sending them back. That's a fair point.
It's an honest point, and it's a good point too. And it is. We elect these idiots. We elect it's there. A lot of that is our own fault. It's that's one thing that we gotta. You gotta look at ourselves. Like I said, there's a lot of people who voted for Biden.
Well, something, actually, Paddy, I'm reading a book at the moment, actually written by Bill O'Reilly, called "Killing England," and what it's about. It's a really good book. It's highly recommended. But it is about the origins, the genesis of the United States. It's about Washington and all the gang going to war with George III, and it's about the creation of what has become, up until this point, Paddy, the world economic superpower, a force for good, a country I've always been proud to go to, a country where I felt a lot of sort of things in common with. But when I listen to, for example, in the past 24 hours, Biden coming out with stuff like, well, he's going to send men, two things, identity politics, Paddy. Men who say they're women will be sent to women's prison. Well, as I said last night, that's a bit tricky. Also, trans men can compete in women's sport if on the same basis. I believe those two things have been said. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Nah, they're right. That's right. And I look, I don't care. I look at it this way. I don't care, about, if you were born a guy and you want to be a woman, that's your issue. If you're saying the other way around. But guess what? What you were born as is what you could compete as. You cannot change the genetic. You cannot change the molecular structure of your body, and genetics makes, males structure different than females. I mean, you got a female athlete running against a male athlete. I don't care if he's gone through change or not. He's still going to beat the female athlete because his body structure is that of a man, and that's just nature. You cannot. You can adjust nature to match your mental attitudes, but you can't change nature, and it's you can't. You can't do these things. Also, too, it's like I love the fact they're making a big fuss that he pulled the transgender health secretary from Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah,
as a member of his administration. Yeah, she's assistant health and she's not the health and human services. Some other guy is. I pulled the list. She's not the health and she's just the assistant. So she's a token. So she's not. I mean, you talk about this. It's not who's can do the best job. It's who's got the best genitalia or melatonin level in their skin. And personally, I don't care if you're green, purple, pink, orange. You've got, you're confused about, what you were born at. That doesn't matter. Can you do the job? I used to have people that I used to run people that loaded planes. I had men and women on set. There were women that could outwork men. They could do the job. That's all that mattered was, could you do the job? Not whether, it's how you go to the bathroom or who you want to sleep with. I don't care. All I care about is get the job done and do it right. But they see this group cares about looks. It's not the accomplishment. It's never succeeded. Things don't. It doesn't matter whether you succeed or not. It's how you try, the effort you made. That bullshit. The answer is whether or not you succeeded.
Well, I don't think, Jed, we could disagree with that. But one other part of the Biden administration I also wanted to touch on whilst we're all here is obviously, I think that the media didn't talk about it yesterday. Their coverage was awful, Jed. But obviously, most people recognize, yes, exactly, Patty, that Biden does suffer from a degree of cognitive decline. It's obvious. It's kind of painful to watch. It's not, they won't talk about it, but it's there. Now, that means that, and being president of the United States is a big job, a big high pressure job, even for Biden at 78. I suggest, Jed, he's not going to last more than a year, 2 years. And that means that the Democrats are going to get what they want, which is Madam President, the first black female president. I think that's an inevitability, and I think that's coming before the end of 4 years. What do you think about that?
You're right, and she was lined up, you see, because in the primaries, I think she got something like 6% in the primaries. So the Democratic voters didn't vote for her. Biden selected her, and what did he select her on? Sex, color, ethnicity, you name it, them are the boxes he ticked. So as the phrase goes, she's a box ticker. Yeah, and he's got a box ticker in. We could end up, and I believe it's within 12 months, we'll end up with a box ticker president. Or America will, the world will. We all end up with America's president, and it will be the box ticker that Biden picked. Yeah,
but the other thing about that, Patty, that bothers me is, I think you've already said it in this stream, and it's certainly something that Jed and I think everyone would agree with. We all want to see the best person doing the job. Gender is neither here nor there. But I've heard people say Kamala Harris, gosh, she could be an inspiration for young women. Really? Patty, 2 words. San Francisco Mayor Willie Thorne. Tell us more about let's say Kamala's entry into the political world.
You really want to get us thrown off YouTube?
No, I don't. No, I don't. Definitely not. But if you want,
she assisted the mayor, and that's what launched her career. She gave him personal assistance, and everything else. That's the
And she wouldn't be the first. She wouldn't be.
But here's the thing about here's the thing about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is all this Yeah, she's she's the race symbol. She's this and that. This woman started her career locking minorities up in San Francisco, throwing the key away on them.
Yeah.
This is to defund the cop. This lady was, she was my kind of district attorney. Lock them all up, man. And throw away the key.
Yeah.
And everything else. And then she's got the nerve to talk about over prosecuting this and that and that. Kamala Harris is the one that's being groomed to be the heir apparent and everything else. And she meets all the quotas. But Kamala Harris is dangerous, man. Read up on what the things that she's read and said. This woman, she has core values. And those core values are not American core values. They're core values of the universities and the social justice warriors and everything else, and they fall more in line with a little, a couple of little red books and stuff like that. But the other thing that I wanted to make a point of, I'm 60 years old. Biden,
you're a young man, Patty.
Bless me. Biden has been in office since I was 10 years old. He's had more positions and held different points of view on the same position more times than Carter's got little pills. I mean, this guy, he has no core values. So what you're going to see is an administration by committee. And the problem is the people that he's picked on that committee are not picked by him. They're picked by Kamala Harris's, the Pelosi's, look at his advisors. I mean, we got a war going on right now, worldwide, but it's like, to be honest, you guys never understood free speech. I'm sorry. It's something that just doesn't translate across the pond. We're two people separated by a same language and also a misunderstanding of how to use it. The attack on free speech in the United States has just begun. We are at major war with big tech, big censorship, big government. They were talking, and I mean, it's elected officials too. It's not just a big tech, but who does he have as all his advisors? He has all the big people from the big tech companies, all the people that silenced you, me, Trump, everybody they could. That they did the Parler, and Dan Bongino and that crew is a disgrace. Now they're saying, the Russians are going to host us. Well, you know what? They turned around. They destroyed a man's business. They destroyed a man's reputation, and they've gone after his life. That's here in America. What would be different from Russia? What was it? So what's the and this is coming from diehard liberals that I deal with every day. Please come and visit me at A Tangled Web. All are welcome. You want to join the debate? We have a crew of the most whacked out, wonderful people in the world. Strong beliefs in every angle you want. If you're a lefty, if you're a loon, if you're a right winger, just come and join us at The Tangled Web.
This is a commercial on behalf of...
Oh, yeah, I got to pump up my site, darn it.
Yeah, well, before you pump it up, I'm being asked here on the TR UK show, says, David, could you elaborate on the similarities between the progression of communism in the 20th century to the current predicament of democracy? I'll do that in one sentence. What we're seeing is across the world, and we're seeing it right now in America, which is heartbreaking, we're seeing techno-communism being introduced. The big tech companies are 100% behind it. Big corporate America is behind it. I mean, they can't get enough of BLM, Patty, and BLM are Marxist to the core, nihilistic, violent Marxists for that matter. So what you're getting actually is a coalescence of just, as far as I can see, negativeness and a darkness spreading across the world. And we always look, Patty, to America as that gleaming city on the hill that Reagan talked about. But I see the lights are going out, to coin another phrase.
Lights are never going to go out here. We'll go through.
Right, cheer me up.
We'll go through 4 or 8 years of hell. But the lights are not going out through here. Number one, that whether it was only 50 million that voted for Trump. That's 50 million people who you're going to go that are not going to cooperate. I have a simple rule. I'm going to continue to holler and scream about the things that I see that are incorrect and injustice and everything else. And if you try to shut me down, I will continue that. And I'm not going to go. I don't advocate violence. I don't support anybody that I think everybody that, I think the people who got shot raiding the Capitol deserve to get shot. You were trespassing on a federally held ground that Secret Service did their job. Sorry. Oh, well. And I was at that rally. So I don't want to hear it from anybody. So the other thing is, my rule is I'm going to say what I want and do as I want. You want to stop me? You come to my house. But there's a simple rule in the United States. You come to my house. I'm not going, I'm not going peacefully. Take it from there. I'm not going. I used to sell firearms for a living. I know. I was raised by cops. I'm not. Everybody I know is armed. Even the liberals. I come from Pennsylvania. This is the #1 firearm purchasing state in the United States. Everybody has guns. There's only so much you can take. Now, nobody's going to call it. That's the other thing. You're going to have an armed revolt. Did you notice all the armed security for the inauguration? Not a peep. Because the right-wingers don't do that. We don't riot. We watched the Democrats behave the last 9 months, burning down cities. That's not how we are. And we're not going to do it. We stick to we say we stick to our guns. We'll stick to our guns, meaning I'm going to speak up, and I'm going to speak my mind, and I'm going to do what I want. And, you can yell at me, you can curse me, you can call me whatever you want and everything. That's fine. But if you try to you try to take me away, or you try, I'm going to defend myself. And that's the American way. And there are more people like that, in this country than us. Jesus, we have over 370 million legal guns in the hands of the population and everything else. They can't disarm us. They're not going to be, they're going to try. You watch the first 100 days. I want to see what kind of gun legislation they come out with, because they're going to come out with something and everything else. But they can't disarm us. And like I said, and I fall into the category of a gun nut, even though I don't own a huge collection. I don't go shooting all the time and everything else. But I am a gun advocate. And and like I said, I did make a living for a while selling firearms. And I've been shooting competitions since I was 6 years old. So it's like, but like I said, I'm not alone. I got a buddy of mine who's a Democrat councilman. Is on my shooting team. So there's a lot of misconception outside the borders of this country about the gun culture. There is no gun culture. Just everybody's armed. That's all.
Patty, the right to bear arms being a core American value, it's something that we don't have in the UK. And in my view, it makes us vulnerable, very vulnerable to the government. And that's why I fear, though, you guys are going to go, like example, here in the UK, most people watching this are Brits. We're all locked down. Our businesses are closed. We're all masked up like zombies. And frankly, people just have to suck it up. There's nothing to be done. There's the odd rebel, and you're looking at one, but that's it. Now,
in that sense,
as well.
In that sense, we're in the same position, because nobody here is going to go to war over COVID, over this mass stuff. We're watching the economy. The economy's destroyed. There's over over 60% of all small businesses in where the lockdowns are will never. New York City's devastated. I got a liberal friend I argue with every day. Yep. And and he what do you call it? He knows dozen people who whose businesses will not open again, shops that he frequented and everything else, and not because they don't want to, or not because just because they weren't allowed to do business. And you can only stay open. You can only not be open for so long. And it's most of the people don't realize the majority of businesses in the United States are small businesses, less than 200 people. And it's what do you call it? And most of them have been severely crushed in this last year. And and unless it turns around real fast, you're going to see an economic. You don't worry about anything else. The economy that's going to collapse around us is going to bring not just the United States down. We'll bring everybody down with us because we affect everybody.
Well, actually, Jed, just on that one, because that's an interesting point, Patty. Here's a question, Jeff. We all remember Bill Clinton famously saying, "It's the economy, stupid." In other words, when it comes to getting elected, you've got to make sure that you've got a good economic plan. Give people jobs; they'll vote, they'll stick with you. But it's really strange because Biden, as Patty's just talked about, he plans to. There'll be further lockdowns, I believe. Small mom and pop shops will continue to be crushed. So this is really weird. If it's the economy, stupid, why does Biden want to destroy the economy?
One thing. Just let me butt in for 1 second, Jed. The only way they got away with this over the last year, and the only way got away with it, is they told everybody, if you go outside, you're going to die. And guess what? Even that's the one thing that overrules the law. When you make people afraid to breathe the air or to step outside their house, that they're going to die, that it overrides everything else. And they played it to the hilt. You got a disease that's bad. I mean, but it's still, it still was not a plague. It still was not a pandemic. And 99% of the people that got over it. Now, I've been blessed. I didn't get it. I have no immune system. I have Lyme's disease, which eats your immune system. So I wear my mask when I go out in public. But according to my state, because right now my mother's in the other room, she doesn't live in this house. I'm supposed to have my mask on here in my house because somebody who doesn't live in my house is here. I'm breaking the law. Screw that law. And and if I get infected, the odds are I'm going to die.
Hang on. You interrupted Jed there, Patty. So you're back. You're in the benches. Jed, go ahead.
Sorry, Jed.
No, you're all right, Paddy. I could listen to you all night long. But yes, the economy's stupid. And this is the point. They've had a raging economy for a good 3 years, obviously until the beginning of 2020. And that is the problem. Because when people are living high on good jobs, good money, a good life balance and all that sort of stuff, they forget about the hard times. Well, now over the next 4 years, they're going to be reminded what hard times are all about. When those jobs go in Pennsylvania, they go from the pipeline that's going across the country, they go from the gas fields. They'll then remember the 3 storming years that Trump gave them with jobs, or economy stupid. But I just want to say one more thing, if I mind, David. And it's the very first thing Paddy said. Well, not the very first. We mentioned about Biden. Paddy's 60 and Biden's been in politics for 50 years. He stood there on the 20th, giving his inauguration speech, trying to tell the world he's there to fix democracy. He's been part of that democracy for 50 years. Why didn't he fix it over that 50 years?
Well, Paddy?
Hey, okay, what simple reason? Why didn't he fix it over the 50 years? Because he's got no values.
Yeah.
He's got no guidance. He doesn't believe in the document he swore to uphold. He doesn't believe in the Constitution. He doesn't believe that everybody is born equal, and if you give them the chance, and they can become rich, famous, or they can become drug addicts and criminals. It's personal choice. And you see, and the way what guides those personal choices is your core convictions. Now, when you start out in politics as somebody in debt, come from a coal digging and steel manufacturing family, and you're the first person, basically, I think him and his brother were the first ones to make it out of high school, and now. 28 years later, you're worth. You've done nothing but work in politics, and you're worth over $500 million. I got issues with that. And like I said, where did your core value? How did that line? What did you do for the country to get to acquire that kind of wealth?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Patty, I think the ultimate sort of reflection is that. Politics tends to attract the very worst kind of people. So that's just the way, that is the nature of the world. But listen, we have reached I see we're being joined by a bunch of us, a party called Patriotic Alternative, which is not a US thing, Paddy. It's a British thing. So we'll take that. I'll take that under advice. People are saying to me, "Look up Patriotic Alternative." No, they can look me up, and we'll see if we can have voices on. By the way, folks, I'm open to different voices and whatnot. Don't have to agree with you, though, of course, and you don't have to agree with me. The tenure of this channel, as you've heard for the past hour from Paddy and Jed, is civilized, informed debate. But we can challenge things as best we're able to. So I hope that's okay. So look, Paddy, I have to say you've cheered me up a bit because I'm such a fan of the United States, and I do think there's big challenges ahead. But when I listen to people like you, and when I realize that there's millions like you over there, I can only hope that your voices prevail, and that the destructive part of this administration is ameliorated, if not in 2-4 years' time, taken away. I don't know. Time will tell.
Get a big bag of popcorn and sit back and enjoy the show, because the next 4 years are going to be hysterical. Because this circus has just begun. They just raised the curtain. They haven't even stepped into the center ring yet.
Okay, well, look, that's probably the best advice of all for everybody watching this. Get yourself some popcorn, sit back, don't overstress it like people like me do, and enjoy the ride. Probably laughing at it. I mean, actually, seriously, laughter does keep you sane, because there's so much that can disturb us. It's good to keep a sense of humor. Paddy, it's a real pleasure to have you in the stream. You'll definitely have to come back. Because we need to have regular doses of American sanity, and I think you definitely provide that.
Regular doses of an American sanity is sometimes questionable. I am what I am.
The audience can decide on that. But listen, Paddy, seriously, thank you very much. Jed, I think we're going to bring proceedings to an end. And folks, I shall return probably next Monday, probably. But if there's any change, I'll let you know. It depends depends what else happens between now and then. Anyway, folks, thank you very much. Do make sure you give as many thumbs up to this one as possible. We need to get our numbers going upwards so that when Paddy comes on, the universe is waiting to hear his words of wisdom. And in the meantime, that's it from me. Good night, everybody, and catch you all soon. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Bye.